But he's so stupid, he thinks that the United States Treasury is just a big open pot of mixed monies that is his, that he can take from and he can put in, and it's just, it's all for his use. That's not how it works. The government is currently shut down, the longest government shutdown in the history of this country. We have a system that is just absolutely broken where the government can close, and it's always the most vulnerable who suffer. It's the poorest, it's the sickest, it's children. That's who ends up suffering. We have a situation right now where soldiers, members of our military and their families are waiting in line at food banks because Donald Trump won't do what it takes to open the government back up. The Republican Party shut down the government. They control the Congress. They control the White House. They control a vast majority or vast cross-section of our judiciary, the three branches of government, and they're blaming Democrats who don't have power, who are out of power and can't even muster to be an opposition party. They have to just be the minority party, dragged along by their nose by the Republican Party. So the Republican Party passed a $1.6 billion tax cut for the top 5% of wage earners in this country. 1.6 trillion. And they did that, as this handy little chart points out, to counteract the $1.2 trillion, I think it's 1.3 trillion dollar cuts to SNAP, food assistance, food stamps, and Medicare, and the Affordable Care Act, which now we're seeing that your charges, your costs for healthcare, in some cases are doubling and tripling for some people because they are not going to renew the subsidies or that tax, that spending element. So it's a balance. That chart tells it all, that it's almost a 1-for-1. In order to pay for the tax cuts for the richest people, they had to cut something. And what did they cut? Programs for the most vulnerable. Programs for you, if you're on the Affordable Care Act, if you're on the exchange, Obamacare. So Donald Trump yesterday, the man who's seen to his third of $1 billion ballroom, I don't think it's a ballroom, I think it's something else, but we'll find out in time. That man, the billionaire who's never wanted for anything. Listen, let me say this before I play the clip, because he's going to say some batshit crazy things that are just not in tune with reality, that aren't how it works in the law. It really does lay bare that Donald Trump has no functioning understanding of what his job is, of how legislation works, about how appropriation works. He's a dumb fuck, an abject dumb fuck. Because he's never had to learn anything, because everything's been given to him. Since he was a child, he's been given everything. I tell you what, we'll just play the clip and we'll come back.
And you know, one other thing, our country has to remain very liquid because problems, catastrophes, wars, could be anything. We have to remain liquid. We can't give everything away based on a number. Here's an example. When I was president, the number that you're talking about was a tiny fraction of what it is now. Biden went totally crazy, gave it to anybody that would ask, gave it to people that were able-bodied, had no problem. Anybody that would ask, we get the number. And it's many times the number of people are on. That wasn't meant for that. It was meant for people that had real problems, in many cases, people that were down and out, people that could be saved. It wasn't meant for people that could do whatever they want, the people that say, well, I don't think I'll work, I'll just, collect this money. Take a look at the number of what it was during my administration and what it was during the Biden administration. It went up many, many times my first term.
I'm going to get to the analysis of what he said and how it's stupid and wrong. Again, dumb. But let me say this about food stamps. This isn't some thought experiment for me. This isn't like there's poor people out there and it must be really bad to be hungry. It must really be bad to have to be on food stamps and food assistance by the government. This isn't theoretical for me. I grew up on food stamps, getting free lunch, not reduced lunch, free lunch at school. So much so that it developed in me insecurities and a complex about being poor and about people knowing that I'm poor and just embarrassment about it. When I'm a kid and in the school that I went to, when they punch your lunch ticket, your lunch little pink lunch card that we had, they would punch it and then write into the big check mark in the free lunch column, the person who was punching the card. So everybody knew free lunch. This is a poor kid. When people talk about eating government cheese and what we called commodities, that's not theoretical. I have eaten the government cheese, literally had sandwiches, a little kid with no dexterity cutting a massive, massive slice of cheese and then putting mustard and lettuce on it. And that was it. This isn't theoretical for me. People need assistance. People are poor by no fault of their own. They're not poor because they wasted their money. They're not poor because they don't spend their money well. They're poor because they don't have enough money. When are we going to get through our heads that is what it is? My mom wasn't irresponsible. We were just poor. So when Donald Trump is acting like our country has to remain very liquid because problems, catastrophes, wars could be anything, we have to remain liquid. Does he think that money that was specifically in a targeted appropriation set aside for SNAP, that if a war breaks out, he can just take that money from the welfare fund or the Medicaid funding and then put it to war? That's not how it works. That would be a violation of the law. But he's so stupid, he thinks that the United States Treasury is just a big open pot of mixed monies that is his, that he can take from and he can put in, and it's all for his use. That's not how it works. It's never been that way. And the President of the United States should know better to know better. But instead, we have a fucking moron as the President of the United States, I'm sorry to say. And that's not just a colloquialism or a turn of phrase. I am sorry to say that our president is a fucking idiot, harming the most desperate and sick, impoverished, oppressed in our society, while giving his buddies, the wildly wealthy billionaires, corporate welfare that nobody bitches about. Nobody asks Elon Musk, hey, is that lobster in your shopping cart? Are you eating steak in there? Are there oatmeal pies in there? Nobody's asking that, but they ask it about food stamp recipients, while Donald Trump waxes about liquidity in our government. It wasn't meant for people, food assistance, food stamps, wasn't meant for people. They could do whatever they want, that people that say, well, I don't think I'll work. I'll just, collect this money. Does he think people want to be poor? People, they choose to be poor. It's much easier and better to be poor than it is to have money and be able to pay your bills with ease, according to billionaire Donald Trump. This is disgusting and reprehensible and just heartless. It is an inadequate response to the desperation of millions of Americans that he is currently harming by continuing this government shutdown. Then a federal judge has said, no, you got to fund it. It's not a permissible, I think is what the word he used. It is mandatory. This is reporting from Notice. Obviously, this is a quote. This is from the Trump administration. Obviously, we have to find a way to comply, was what a senior Trump administration official first told Jasmine with a sigh, an hour after federal judge John McConnell Jr. ordered the government to issue full SNAP payments within 24 hours. By Thursday evening, the USDA, the department that administers SNAP, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or food stamps, the department that administers SNAP made clear that it would appeal. J.D. Vance said that it was an absurd ruling. And then this is the situation we're in right now, is that Donald Trump as a measure of propaganda and hypocrisy and lying, has been saying, oh, we feel really bad. We're going to do everything we can to get these SNAP benefits to these people. And then when a judge orders, do it, I'm ordering you to do it, they're like, no, we're going to appeal. You don't get it both ways. This is how Notice talked about it. The White House has spent this shutdown saying it has been doing everything possible to mitigate harm from the shutdown. See WIC, which is Women, Infants, and Children, another food assistance program. WIC and military pay, and simultaneously, after they've said they want to do everything possible, and simultaneously threatening to maximize pain. See Donald Trump's Truth Social post declaring no SNAP benefits until Democrats voted to open the government. The White House later clarified that the president's statement didn't include the initial court-ordered payments. And then here we have the judge's ruling. Judge McConnell accused the administration of not working quickly enough to disperse the funds. Quote, the order to use contingency funds was not permissive. It was mandatory, he said, adding that the administration had, quote, arbitrarily and capriciously created this problem by ignoring the congressional mandate for contingency funds and failing to notify the states. They have the money to pay for SNAP for another month, and they're not using it. Twisting the knife on poor people, on poor, hungry kids, while claiming, oh, we want to do everything we can. This is a Democrat shutdown. I'd love to hear from you if this too is not theoretical in your mind. Have you been on food assistance in your life as a child, as an adult? Are you on it now? We need to stand in the gap for people who are desperate and hungry and poor and want to focus on maintaining survival standards for themselves. And sometimes when you are focused on survival, you don't have the energy or the bandwidth to focus on policy, to focus on campaigns, to focus on getting out there and voting. Unfortunately, that's the reality of it. And we need to step in, raise our voices, get active, organized, to fight for those people when they can't fight for themselves. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. Please consider supporting this work. For $2 a month, you become a channel member, or you can go to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast to help support independent media and the work we do right here. I love and appreciate you. Again, I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.